Hello and welcome to FDS MTG News for March 22nd, 2022. Today's first story is a bit of a serious one, but I feel it's an important discussion to have. Quick trigger warning, as this story addresses some heavy topics that some folks may struggle with. And if you're triggered by the fact that I have a trigger warning, I don't care. That will be the only joke during this particular story. On March 9th, a BuzzFeed article came out titled 17 Actors Who Say They Were Pressured to Film Nude and Sex Scenes That They Weren't Comfortable With. One of the actresses on the list, Benita Robledo, had accused the director of Dependence Day, Michael Lynch, of coercing her into doing full frontal nudity for the film. Note, I will be referring to him as MDL for the remainder of the story because his last name often can trip content filters. I was doing the final edits on this episode and it came to my attention that I have been mispronouncing Miss Rebledo's name during the story. It's actually Rebledo and not Rebledo, like I mentioned in the rest of the story. I do apologize for that. Unfortunately, I don't have any time to re-record this. I discovered it fairly late in the editing process, so I do apologize for the mistake, but please know I am aware of it and I do apologize for it. Thank you. The BuzzFeed article was actually referencing a Washington Post article that coincidentally came out on March 9th of 2018 that covered the story in slightly more detail. Why am I talking about a Hollywood nudity scandal on a channel about Magic the Gathering? Because, as some of you are aware, MDL is the host of YouTube Commander gameplay show I Hate Your Deck. If you are not familiar with the show, it has exploded in popularity in the past year, showing in-person Commander gameplay with 4 people at a time when most things were still over Spelltable and Zoom. It featured actors, musicians, patrons from their Patreon, and in recent months, big MTG community members including Brian Lewis, the professor at Tolarian Community College, as well as Olivia Gober-Hicks and Brian Kibler. The initial backlash to the BuzzFeed article and Rebledo's resurfaced accusations hit a fevered pitch around March 13th and prompted MDL to post on Twitter an interview he did with Rebledo where they spoke about the nude scene and she seemed fairly comfortable with it. In the tweet, he commented that she was in a new relationship at the time and implied that was the reason she changed her mind about the nudity. This did not go over well. A few days later, on March 15th, MDL posted an apology with a promise to do better. The fervor seemed to slow a bit with other topics taking over the communal conversation. That is until Saturday, March 19th, when Benita Robledo posted a video on YouTube and Twitter where she addressed MDL's apology. In the video, she outlines in detail the events surrounding the nude scene and subsequent actions of MDL. She states that he coerced her into filming the scene against her wishes, and when she demanded the nudity be removed from an early cut of the film, MDL withheld footage of another project he was working on with her in retaliation. If you are able to do so, I encourage you to watch the video or read the statement. Links in the description down below. She goes into more detail, and I believe it is better to hear it directly from her. Rebledo also thanks the MTG community for holding MDL accountable. Rebledo had accepted MDL's apology at first, unaware of his initial reactionary tweets to the outcry. The Magic community holding MDL accountable made her aware of his reaction and prompted this response. In response to Rebledo's statement, many in the Magic community have made it clear that they will not tolerate this behavior shown here by MDL, and they have cut all ties with him and I Hate Your Deck. Card Kingdom has also announced that they have ceased their partnership with MDL and I Hate Your Deck. On a completely unrelated note, if you are looking for content now that you no longer have a show to watch because of reasons, check out the description down below where I will be including links to content creators who specialize in in-person gameplay. Enjoy! The professor at Tolarian Community College launched his Kickstarter campaign for his academic 133 Plus deck box last Tuesday, and it was funded the full $50,000 goal in less than 20 minutes. I suspect it would have been funded in less than 10 minutes if everyone wasn't trying to get the limited edition signature version of the box, which caused a bottleneck in the system. Sadly, this also made for a negative experience for many who were trying to get the limited edition box, but were unsuccessful. The professor, who was not at fault, still did the stand-up thing, and anyone who is getting in on the Kickstarter is getting a signature token that is individually numbered. Currently sitting at just under $1.5 million as of recording, and probably more by the time you're watching this, multiple stretch goals have been revealed with more to come. I think it's safe to say that the only person who didn't anticipate this was the professor himself. In an article posted on the Wizards Play Network website, it notes that due to supply chain issues, the Streets of New Capenna Commander decks will not be as widely available as they originally hoped at the release of the set on April 29th in the United States and Canada. Because of this, Wizards has extended the window of time game stores have to hold the Streets of New Capenna Commander launch party in all regions. So be sure to check with your LGS to find out when yours is being held. Originally, I was going to talk about the alchemy cards they released last week, and about how this card is somehow at mythic rarity, but then the economy discussion happened on Thursday during the live stream, and I forgot all about the alchemy cards. In the live stream, as well as an article posted on the Wizards website, Wizards announced some changes that are happening in Arena in the coming weeks and months. The key takeaways are, there are no plans to implement a dusting system, where a player can trade in their cards for a resource that then can be used to create other cards. There are also no plans to implement a trading up system for wild cards. 5 common wild cards can be made into an uncommon card, for example. They are adding a wildcard bundle that will include 12 rare and 4 mythic rare wildcards for $49.99. Also, they recognize that adding alchemy to historic took it too far away from paper, so they will be adding a new format in Arena that will be closer to an eternal paper format. More details to come on that later. So I guess it's time for my why Arena is predatory rant. And yeah, I know some people think Magic itself is predatory, I get it, but for me it was either this or the dog track, and I'm not a fan of the smell of cheap alcohol. Also, before the drafters and daily grinders pop in and say they've been playing since the open beta and haven't spent a cent, and they have more wild cards than they ever need, and it's perfect for them, and why don't the rest of us just get good? I'm happy that the system works for you. That's great. For you. But it's not working for a large portion of the MTG player base. We don't have the time required to pull off what you all are able to do. And what if you don't like to draft? The rest of us have been asking for improvements, and what we got instead was a tone-deaf response that included a $50 new product that gives you 16 space points. The community reaction has been negative, to say the least. I predict the official response to this negative reaction will be, "We've seen and listened, and we have heard you. The wildcard pack is now only $40. Hoping that the community will go, "Yay, they listened." Well, I hope the community doesn't and continues to say, no, dusting or a dusting equivalent or bust, because this is ridiculous. $10 would have been ridiculous for this wildcard bundle. I want to build and play decks. I don't want to have to spend a ton of money on digital goods to do so. They also claim they are doing it because it's such a feel-bad moment when you dust a card to get another card, then 3 weeks later you wish you hadn't done that because now you want that card you dusted. No, that's not feel-bad. That's life. You know what's feel-bad? Trading a Beta Bayou to your friend because it's a land and I never play multicolored. And you know what I got in that trade? A Sarah Angel. Yeah. Revised. That's feel bad. That will never happen in digital. Never will the digital version of the reality chip I dust to get a Boseiju who endures will ever spike in price to such a height that it will make me hate my 13-year-old self more than I already do. And if the meta does change and the reality chip is now something I wish I had, then I'll dust something else to get it because it's digital and I don't care. It's the circle of life, people. They are assuming we are treating these digital collections like we do our real collections. And while that may have been true on Magic Online, because you could sell your collection there, it's not true on Arena. Because while they assume we view these ones and zeros the same way we view our actual collections, they are not allowing us to interact with our Arena collections like we do with our real collections, which fundamentally affects how we view the collection. And now they are asking for almost half the cost of a booster box for 16 wildcards. At least with the 45 pack bundle, which costs a little bit less than $50, I'm getting 45 packs worth of cards. Anyway, that's all for today. Like, subscribe, follow on Twitter and TikTok at FDS_MTG, and click on stuff. But then the economy discussion happened. I need a drink of orange juice, where a player can trade. $10 would have been ridiculous for this wild card bundle. dusting or a dusting. It's a land, and I never play multi. To interact with our arena. Let me try that again. This show is part of the CIP network, inspiring creativity, one episode at a time.